Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. My name is Scott.
I thought you were going to continue rapping a bit there.
Oh, mate, if I had the brains to do that, I would have. My name is Scott, and I'm joined by Shane.
Oh, hoi hoi.
I am joined by Martin.
Evening all.
And Phil has decided to not come today. He could make it. He sends his love, but he will be back next week as usual. And we can't wait to have him back. Before I go on, I want to say thank you very much to everyone that is either currently watching, listening to the podcast, doing anything that involves the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club and the Nerd Herd channel, because we have recently reached 700 subscribers. We're very happy with that. It's one of our little 100 milestones. So we're very pleased. So if you are obviously enjoying our content and the guys that turn up every week and the guys that listen to the podcast every week, spread the word. Spread the word of the herd and let us be heard. There we go. That was cool. So, right, back to the formalities. This week we are talking about Reckless from Image Comics. This is an original graphic novel, so there's no image, so there's no issue counts this week for you to follow. Just get the Reckless original graphic novel if you wanted to read along. Written by Ed Brubaker, art by Sean Phillips, and coloured by Jacob Phillips. I'm assuming they're related. Yes. So let's say hi in the chat a bit, and then I'll let you guys know what the book's about. So we've got James here. Hi guys. Hi James. It's been ages. Thank you for popping by. Hope you're doing well. And we've got Liam here as well. Howdy ho, Liam. That's it for now, but I'm sure we'll have a few more trickling in. And I'm glad that we are on little numbers at the moment, because I'm not sure what I'm about to say at the start will be well entertained. So what is Reckless about? I'm not sure I should be doing the synopsis, but I'll do it anyway. Man is low on money and loses his job at what? The FBI or the CIA?
FBI,
or whatever it was, FBI. And he decides to do a little bit of hustling for some and get a little bit of reward, and decides, hey, you know what? I'll go and do this as my full-time job. Then an old flame, if you will, comes back into his life, and he then gets a bit love blind, does everything wrong, gets her killed, but she doesn't get her killed, but she dies. He gets everything wrong, trying to investigate the murder, and that's it. That's how I took this book. So honestly, if someone else would like to redo the synopsis for me, I would gladly take that, because this was, I'm going to say it now, one of those hype books that left me expecting too much and left me a bit like,
Wouldn't have guessed from that synopsis. Radiated the positivity there.
Well, no, that's it. Like, what happens?
It's an episode of The Equalizer, isn't it? Like, he gets a job to do and he does the job.
Wrong.
People get hurt. He does it. No, he does do the job.
He does.
He does do the job. He gets the guy in the end, so he does the job.
That's true.
He finds a bit more about his past, doesn't he? And finds out what had gone on.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those discussions where you guys need to bring me up. This is going to be one of those score-changing episodes.
So essentially, he was an FBI agent undercover with this group of terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
He got caught in an explosion and forgot what was it, like 24, 48 hours. He doesn't know what happened to the build up of the explosion and just after the explosion. So he thinks people are dead when they're not. He is then, he's bouncing about. He was a terrible FBI agent after he got back after the explosion. They kept him on as long as they could. Then once they didn't have to have him there anymore, they got rid of him. So he just started doing odd jobs, as in helping people get money back. Basically, it's like a bailiff, wasn't he? They'd phone him up. He'd go do it. He'd get a percentage of the money back. Essentially a bailiff. That's it. Now, the girl that he fell in love with when he was an undercover agent comes back. She has a problem because she robbed a bank with some other people that were there that he knows from his past. But they kept her part of the money. Now she wants him to get her part of the money. Again, bailiff. She wants him to get that money for her. But the people that have the money are a little bit more dangerous and they end up killing her. So he then goes after them, not for the money, but for revenge. So I think
and then kills the wrong person.
No,
that's called the twist.
Yeah, but it's not a twist though. Like if he kind of goes, "This is my job. People ring my phone. People tell me what they want to do. I go and do it. I get the money." Like he went on this job for free based on revenge-based love-based revenge, and gets it wrong.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. Yeah. Yeah.
This right. The comment here from Liam, right? Also, 100% agree with you, Scott. Based on the hype, I was left wondering if I'd read it wrong. I felt exactly the same. I thought I'd read it wrong. Sat there and I was like, why? Like, why is this good?
Yeah.
Like
I agree with you
sorry.
to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, last week everyone was talking about the hype. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a good book, or at the very least, it's going to be a fun read. I didn't have fun reading it. I enjoyed it for what it is. Like I say, it's like an episode of The Equalizer I used to watch. Edward Woodward. Anyone remember him? Same thing. They'd phone up his phone. Edward Woodward, yeah, the star of The Equalizer. Before Denzel Washington. So he would do the same thing. They'd phone his phone up and he would go and help them out, wherever it would be. Drug dealers are in the neighborhood, or someone's kidnapped someone. He would do the same thing. So I was getting that vibe from this, and this book started off up here, like those first few pages. I was like, that's how you open a book. That is how you open a book. I was ready for this. And then they hit the brakes, and then they don't get past the first gear. Yeah, they don't get past first gear right till you get back up to the end of the book, which is the start of the book, when things kick off again. So for most of the book, I was just reading it thinking, something needs to happen. I don't feel as invested in these characters as I think the writer thinks I will be at this point.
It's definitely an origin for Ethan. It's definitely trying to build the character of Ethan Reckless and his backstory, his connections to these people. I think that's the part you're finding at first gear, because so much was built upon to get to that final bit. We were teased at the start with something so big, and then you didn't get to that till the final act. But I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I love Brubaker and Sean Phillips as a creative team. So for me, I didn't get lost. For me, I'm the same as you. Like The Equalizer, I didn't get the Equalizer vibe. It gave me 18 vibes. This is sort of product of this era, isn't it? You got a phone call to go and do a job, and that episode was going and helping somebody out, and getting something for it in return. But obviously, this had the personal involvement twist. That's how I saw it. I think knowing there's more volumes to follow this, kept me. I was invested.
I just don't know if this is a great jumping on point. I don't know if this is a great first story arc. Like maybe if it had started with him as an FBI agent, I don't know. There's something was missing from this. Like I loved Kill or Be Killed, so they had so much credit with me. Like I was like, it's the same team. Yeah. I'm obviously going to read it. There's going to be no hesitation from me whatsoever. Kill or Be Killed is fantastic. I love that book. not just because I picked it, but I absolutely did love that book.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
The other book we read by this team as well was Pulp, way back in season 1.
Another fantastic
was
read.
like number 3 or 4. It was definitely in the top 10 of our season 1 leaderboard. It was a fantastic read.
Yeah.
But I didn't go into this going, right, Pulp was awesome, Killer Be Killed was awesome, so therefore this must be awesome. I didn't go into it with that, like, because I've read these books, this book should also be good. It was just because of the hype and because of, whenever the new book on this series comes out, someone will just post it on Instagram. Like, everyone posts it on Instagram, like, I got the book, here it is, the best team in the world, Brubaker and Phillips, like, they've got the new crime book out, it's just sick. Like, and then I don't know what it is. It leaves me wondering, is this one of those things that everyone gets it and then no one really owns up that, like, it's not that great, and then everyone just goes, oh yeah, it's awesome, it's great, you should get it, like, I love it, I like it, so because everyone else got it, so I bought it, and then, like,
too embarrassed to acknowledge
yeah.
the fact that it's not actually as good as everyone makes out.
I'm also wondering if I'm just in a terrible mood today, who knows, but let's
all your points are 100% valid when you think about this book. It's not got a lot of substance compared to Pulp, compared to Kill or Be Killed. For Pulp was a one shot, but we
Pulp was 90 pages.
Yeah, and we fell in love with the characters, and the story was
Yeah.
great. And then the first volume of Kill or Be Killed, you were instantly connected to that character. You cared about him. You wanted to know what was going on. Was it real? Was it in his head? You wanted to know all these things. With Ethan, I don't really care that he doesn't have memories of being an FBI agent.
Yeah.
I don't care that he owns a cinema and doesn't want punks to come and tear it up at a midnight showing of some terrible movie. I don't care. So when his girlfriend got blown up, I don't know if it's like the conspiracy theorist in me, but I was like, oh, she did that. She's faked it. Like, she's faking it. She uses the phone beforehand. She's making sure everything's ready because she wants him to go and kill her ex-boyfriend. So I was like, she's coming back at the end of this book. I was like, she's definitely coming back. That was all fake. She did not blow up. She's done that herself. And then it just, no, she did blow up. And I was like, oh. Don't care.
Well. All right, Martin, bring us up.
I'm gobsmacked. I'm gobsmacked. Yeah. So, I really enjoyed it. I can't.
Good.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Tell us what you enjoyed. Yeah. Help us out.
I love the build up. I love the build up to the story. I did like the characters. I love the setting as well. I like that 80s setting. I thought California was a great setting for it as well.
Yeah.
I thought, obviously, I'm not going to art, we're going to main story, but the artwork was great as well. I enjoyed the artwork was fantastic. But for me, I didn't see the ending coming either. That wasn't something I was expecting to happen. I was expecting it to be fake as well when she got killed, but I was expecting some twist with can't think of his name now. What Wilder? I was expecting some twist with Wilder, but then to find out, he wasn't even involved. I didn't see any of that coming. I love the idea that he was involved with the bureau, but I have to admit I did miss the whole thing about him losing his memory. I sort of didn't pick up on that until the back end of the story.
Did you forget about it?
Yeah, but
so
for me, but I do. But I'm just obviously listening to both of your points. You are right. There is a bit in the middle where it, it takes you up and then it does plateau a little bit, and it is very neutral throughout the book because it's building that story. It's introducing all these characters. You've brought me down, guys.
Sorry, buddy. This isn't the intention. This is obviously an opinionated show.
No,
that's what
it's all about.
We could bring the convo up by talking about the art in a minute.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that in a sec. So yeah, Liam was saying, I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It just didn't justify the hype, and that's fair enough. James has said, I didn't know the hype, to be honest, but I read all the Brubaker and Phillips stuff. He thinks the art is awesome, and He says, "Criminal will get me on board." Too little, too late, I'm afraid, because I don't want to. The second book can't get me on board. The first book has to get me on board. I'm assuming Criminal's the second one.
This is not Criminal.
No, oh, Criminal is
Oh,
another
Criminal's
thing
a
he's done.
separate entity.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. Get me on. Okay,
this is Reckless.
I'll give it a look. Sorry, I thought Criminal was like the next Reckless story. Fair enough.
No.
And let's say a quick hi to Pete as well. Triple G Comics there. Hey, buddy. Right. Okay. Art. Same artist for Pulp, like we said. Kill or Be Killed. But a different style. Did that? How did you guys feel about that? Did that throw you off? Were you fine with it? Like how did you react to seeing this art, knowing that it was the same? It was Sean Phillips and Jacob Phillips.
It wasn't what I was expecting, because Kill or Be Killed was a lot better for me. I personally preferred it, because that book blew me away as probably one of my favorite indie titles I've ever read. But yeah, the artwork on this was a bit rougher than what it was in Kill or Be Killed.
Yeah,
a bit more scratchy. But for me, the coloring in this was just another level. That's what really gripped me with the art in this story.
Colors lovely.
Colors are amazing, and he does that thing where you don't see it very often because we're told not to, but he colors outside the lines. So you have the black outline of the character, like he's drawn the character, but then when he's colored him in, he's just gone everywhere. He's just gone wherever he wanted with the colors. And there's a few panels that do it really, really well. That it's his hair that's outside of the lines that he's drawn for the hair. And I don't know, there's something about that. I think it's because you're not supposed to, that it draws me in when they do that, when they color outside the lines, when you get that scratchiness and the colors go where they're not supposed to go. It just makes me go, oh, that's different. Oh, I quite like that. You know, it's the anarchist in me. I just love that sort of thing. But the colors in this are fantastic, especially like you say, where it's set. The colors work perfectly. Very pastel, very like watercolor as well.
Yes,
you can see almost see the brush strokes. It's really, really nice.
He knew how to draw a time of day setting. As when I went back through this, because obviously I read it a few days ago, I went back through it, just seeing the different times of day, you can see he just nailed it, from the purples and the blues, to the early morning, dusk, dawn, sort of nighttime. Even there's one scene where they're driving down a road, the pitch black of the night with the glare on the headlights. It was just brilliant. I thought it was stunning work on the colours.
Yeah. One thing that always, as soon as I get a quarter or a third of the way through this book, I recognize the theme. Like whenever there was a new chapter, I guess, a new section, you know what I'm talking about? Because this isn't issues. There's no issues in this. It's all chunks, isn't it? And they've all got a little title. Each of those titled panels are very picturesque, and there's like a little, there's like a little house. It's like a little scenery, and you can tell that I'm noticing photography themes, the rule of thirds and stuff like that, and it was really cool, and I really enjoyed that. So when I recognized that theme, I was then going, "Ooh, I can't wait for the next one, for that next panel with the title in, for this chapter in there," just because of how nice it looked, and that's how I thought of it. Just someone lining up a really nice shot for a photograph, and taking that, and then that's what made that panel, and it was just really like those aspects.
I will say, I did have the same problem I have with Saga. The movement is very, very static. Even when Rainey's car explodes and he gets thrown into the door of the cinema, and it is just two panels, but it's him hitting the door and then him sat down, and it just looks very static.
I'm literally
even just
looking
the
at that
position
page.
of his body. The position of his body is off for that, isn't it?
The page where the car explodes, it's a full page, and he's just standing there by the door. and then the next page he is then hurtled back. So I'm wondering, obviously there must be like millisecond difference between those two frames, but surely you would think that in that explosion you would have him slightly, stumbling over. Yeah.
It's a different way of trying to show that motion, isn't it?
Yeah.
By moving to another panel. It was no, I completely agree. Especially when you've got a full page spread.
Yeah.
You expect to see that all in that page.
But even in the fight scenes, though, it's that same thing where they are just stills. It doesn't seem like you're reading you're not. I know they're pictures. It's hard to explain because it's a comic book. It's a single frame of a picture, but it's like when you're watching a movie. You look at a single frame of a movie cell. You can see motion in that still. You know what's coming before, what's gone before, and what's coming after. But with this, it's just very static. Like when he's on the airfield and he punches that guy, it's just two people standing there, and he just has his fist out. There's no movement in it. You don't feel the force of the punch. You don't feel the movement of it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. It's the same artist that gave us Kill or Be Killed. So how did he remove a talent from himself between books?
It's a different style, I guess. Maybe it was a style that Brubaker requested for this, and Sean maybe this isn't his forte. You know what I mean? Like, and he went, "Yeah, I'll try it and see how it goes." Should we get into our pages?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, let me just do this. James has sent us a page as well, so thank you very much to him. And anyone else who's watching or listening, if you ever do read along with our books, and you have got, that page looked awesome, I want to send that in. Send it to us on Facebook, on Instagram as well, and tell us why you like it. You can do that, and then we feature it on here, and it's awesome, and we like getting involved with you guys. So I'm going to go first because then I can get all the comments ready for Phil's pick and James's pick as well. So I'll go first, and then I'll let you guys take the reins after that. So here's mine. This is towards the end, I think, where Ethan is driving through the night, and it's all moody and stuff, and he's driving in his Volkswagen caravan. What are they called? Camper van. That's the one. Camper van. And what I liked about this page was the spots of lights, and I thought it was really pretty. It's really nice. It's kind of like if at home now, if I looked out of my window, I can see some other streets in my village. So it's like you're looking at it through a rainy window, or if you're teary-eyed, that's how the lights look to me here. And it's really nice. It's really pretty. And the bottom third of this page as well. Part of it, like the lighting, is done so well, and it's kind of realistic to me, the way that looks. And yeah, just the light really intrigued me with this page, and that is why I picked it as my page.
It's a nice page.
Look at the great shadow on his face as well, and on his fingers, his knuckles. And look, he doesn't have rings for knuckles. He has actual knuckles.
Wait, what's that?
And that shade on his face, that's throughout the book. There's always that shade on him. The shadows are done so well through the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't fool the colours on this book at all.
No. Shane, you're next, buddy. Here we go.
I love graphic violence. Enough said.
Done.
So you got Ethan versus Wilder. This is how the book started, and this is how it ended. And you get to see the full fight scene, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought it was so well done, his reasoning for allowing himself to just get a machete in the arm. Because he tells you throughout the book he doesn't sleep, he doesn't feel pain, as much as like normal people. He doesn't really feel anything, and so to get the kill shot, he sacrifices just a massive chunk out of his arm and just holds his arm up, gets that machete nice and stuck in there so he can't do anything, and then just gets him right in the gut with his axe. Great scene. I did have to blur out some naughty
Censor.
words at the bottom there. Yes.
The gore is fine, but the words, no.
Yes. Yeah, the sheep isn't in the original graphic novel.
Shame. But there we go. Yeah, it's a cool page. It was a cool fight scene. Like when the axe or the machete, goes through his arm, I'm literally like, ooh, like I felt that. You can see the chunk that it took out of his arm as well.
I wanted to hear
gruesome.
like a tink as well, where you hear it hit the bone.
Oh,
You know, like it
smell.
go right through and stop at the bone. Like that needed a few sound effects like that. Yeah.
Can't do that. It's too much for me. Oh, that's gross. That's minging. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Shane. Martin, you're next.
This is obviously at the start of the book, but this is the same fight. Obviously, when we get this is the intro, the end of the intro. This is what leaves us wanting more from this story because we had such a great build up at the start. We learned a little bit at this point about him being someone you call upon, because that's briefly touched on by Wilder. It just drip feeds that a little bit of intrigue that you want to know more. And you see him there. He's got his axe in hand and he's butchered loads of men. And he's ready to fight Wilder, and I just love this page. It's one of few full page spreads, but it's a standout.
And this is, go on.
I was just gonna say, it just builds to the story. Like it gives you so much expectation at the start because Wilder's talking. He says, "I heard that there's a number you call, and there's a guy on the other end that sorts out your problems for you." Like that sounds like an amazing book, like where it's just this badass that goes around just killing people. Whoever phones up, he's like, "Yep, got it done, sorted." That's what book I wanted, but not this. Like this guy is just not that guy. That guy in that picture there is not who's in this book.
It's a bit of a mope, isn't he? Bit of a mope.
No, you are right. That intro, that anarchy side of him is drip fed towards the back end of the book, because most of it is about the detective side of him trying to find out what happened and who's behind the murder of his ex-lover. So it's sort of...
But then we even see like situations where he goes to the person to get information, throughout the book. He goes to the car mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, you want to fight it? I'm a pacifist. Oh yeah, me too, lol. And then, so like that's like, okay, that's not on par with what we've just seen at the very beginning. And then the other opportunity was when he was confronting that the woman at the diner dealing drugs, and she bats him off. So like there are these things that are happening that are just like degrading this man further and further for me, and I'm just like. What?
And I get it. I get that the start of the book is the end of the book, so he isn't there yet. He isn't that person yet. Yeah, I understand that, but that's the guy I want throughout the entire book. I want this blood-soaked, axe-wielding guy that just goes and messes people up. I want that I want that for the entire book. I don't want this version of him until the end. Volume 2 might be this version, and I'd probably enjoy Volume 2 a lot more. But you took too long to get there. You teased him, and then you made me read another 100 pages before I got to him. That's just...
No, fair enough. Okay, we'll go to Phil's pick. Phil, okay, so this page, for anyone listening on the podcast, this is, and if you've read along with the book, I can't remember when at this point this page happens. It's definitely more than halfway, but it's Ethan is lying on his bed and his pants looking all somber, and Phil says he picked this page. So he goes, here we have Ethan reckless with a heavy mind, pondering all sorts in the middle of the night, surrounded by case files in a dark, dingy room. This page just stood out and captures the feel of the character. It looks very 80s. Even the text boxes look older and retro. It's cool. That's from Phil. It is a cool page. Plus, he didn't say that it's also purple. He didn't bring that up, but that's always Phil's theme. I think he just subconsciously picks pages now that are just purple.
It is a great page, but do you know what's really irking me? The man doesn't have a sheet on his mattress. That's really irking me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the
Who
80s.
doesn't have a sheet? Who doesn't have a sheet on their
let
mattress?
it go. It's the 80s.
Okay, and then we've got one more page then. This is from James. He's currently in the chat now. So thank you very much, James, for sending this page in. This is very cool. This is kind of like, was it a flashback? Or not a flashback, but more of like a little historical page on, is this a bit about Wilder?
Yeah, this is when he got the information on Wilder, didn't he? Before he made the beginning of the final act. So we learned a bit more about him and where he'd come from, what he'd done.
Yeah, so we learned that like he was like a tunneler in the war, and that's what the top of this page shows him tunneling. And then like, you know, the middle section is him shooting guns in the war, and then it explains that he's kind of like cast out because he had like a psychotic breakdown because of the whole tunneling scenario, and now and then the bottom of the page is just loads of protesting happening. So James is saying, love the style and colors of this page and the political outlook at the time and the reality of tunnel rats in the war. The layout is great too. No panels, just merger. And I do like those kind of pages. If merger is the official word for it, then I'm happy to call them that. But yeah, I totally get what he means. Yeah, it's seamless and it goes into each section. You can't say panels because there aren't any here. Each part just goes into each other, and it's really
flows,
nice.
Doesn't it? Flows nicely.
Yeah,
it's lovely, very nice. Great. So thank you very much. All the pages there. Thank you very much, James, sending that in, and thanks for you guys for doing your job every week and also picking a page as well, same as me. So story time, writing. We have touched a lot on it already, but as a general gist, Martin, what did is there anything else you can say about the writing? Or
I liked the writing because I like this. This I think this is what got me with Kill or Be Killed. I love Brubaker's writing because he builds the story. He does build to that suspense for me. You do get that, you know, that twist that I expect from his work. You know, I know we've read Friday, and that was like that as well, but very, you know, very tame. But Kill or Be Killed as well. I know we go back to Kill or Be Killed because that was just so good. I just fell in love with that instantly.
that feels like the benchmark book.
It is, yeah, definitely. It's definitely a benchmark book for him. But no, I did enjoy this writing as much as it did drag a little bit towards that. I just felt as if this was more of an origin, a prologue to sort of what we're going to next. I don't know if you guys felt like that. It was more of an origin story as opposed to.
Yeah, not so much an origin. It has to be an introduction to the character. More like we didn't really get his origin, apart from a few little tidbits here and there about him being an FBI agent, being undercover. We don't really know him before this trauma to his head has caused this lack of feeling, lack of empathy, lack of emotion. So we don't really know what he was like beforehand. But
because he said he joined the FBI when he was young, didn't he? He literally came straight in there when he was sort of a late teenager into the FBI, drafted into the ranks, sent out in the field. You know, and then he obviously got too involved with his job and done a few things he shouldn't have done. Got booted out. It's
job done.
18.
Yeah.
18. So I can't help but think like about how we usually read, you know, stories in terms of like when we do sequels, you know, like so last season and this season we've done a few volume 2s, and what we noticed was that, you know, volume 1 was the hook, volume 2 was the development, and then volume 3 and or 4 was the, you know, the conclusion, the, you know, the bringing together of all the things we've read so far, and just to end the arc or the story or whatever it is. And I feel like that's happened in this whole book. We had the hook, and it was about 4 pages long. Then we had the whole character development for, you know, 3/4 of the page from the book, and then the last chunk. Then that is the conclusion. That's where all the twists happen. That's where all everything gets, you know, tied up nicely with a bow.
Yeah, and I appreciate the writing. I appreciate the story that they were trying to tell. And I normally like this sort of thing, this action, crime. I'm a sucker for those kind of movies and TV shows. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I was expecting more. It's probably my fault. Again, Kill or Be Killed was such a great book. I expect more from this team. So when things didn't happen as I feel like they should have, it was just too long a period with nothing really happening. And I get the motivations. He's fallen back in love with his ex, but she's using him because she's lied. He doesn't actually owe her money. She's just trying to bring down her ex or her current, whatever they were. But I was waiting for her to then, when he kills him, I was expecting her to show up and take over the business. Like, I wanted her to have faked her death, used him to get her husband's business. I just think that would have been a bigger kick in the balls to the twist that he found out at the end, that he's just being used. And it was just, I don't know, it just was very lackluster. For the start of the book, you'd think the ending would be as big, if not bigger, than the start of the book, because the start of the book was fantastic. Those first pages, that's how you get me into reading your book. But when the end doesn't match up to that, it's just a bit, I felt deflated.
You know when you see films or TV shows and they always, sometimes they show you the ending first, and then you go, oh, I wonder how we get there, and you enjoy the journey. And then you get there, you get to that bit and you're like, oh cool, right, we got you, we've seen the whole story. And then because you assume that the bit what you've just seen at the very beginning of the film is how the film ends, and then it goes a little bit more to some extra stuff that you didn't expect or didn't think that would happen. That's what went on here, but it just fizzled out. It's like it showed us the best thing at the start.
Yes.
And we got to it, and then we just get after that bit, and that's just after that bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Marty, mate, I'm looking at your face, and I'm so sorry. Like,
I'll be honest. I started high because I did really enjoy this book, but I can't help but be brought back down because your points are valid. They are genuine issues that are wrong with the book. Because when we look at Kill or Be Killed, that's something you could probably see as made into transferred into a movie type thing because of how great it was. This is something that you would expect to be a TV show. This wouldn't be movie quality. This is an episode of an hour-long show. You've got, what happened at the start. You've got your little information about a character, your pilot episode. This would be the one at the end of it. Are we going to go on to episode 2 or not? I personally would, because I like the general setting and story and the characters. But I want more, because looking back now, I don't feel like I got enough from this first volume now. I want more. So I want to go on to the next one to see if that does tickle that urge and that need for more.
I would read on if it had kept my attention throughout the entire book. I found myself drifting. Like, I read quite quickly anyway. Like, I don't linger on pages unless there's a lot to look at. That's the only time. Like, I'll just read the book. I pay attention to the pictures, but I read the book. But with this, I found myself just getting through pages even quicker when nothing was happening. So for me, the start was great. Obviously, we said that. But had they used that end fight scene and maybe trickled that in throughout the book, so it kept on flashing to that.
Yeah.
Every time you have a lull, you have a bit of story, then you show an extra part of that fight scene, an extra 2 pages, and then you go back to the story, and then you flash to the fight scene again. So every time you're reading the story, you're like, oh yeah, we've got to get to that. Oh yeah, this is leading up to that. Oh, that's coming, to keep you engaged. But I was bored for most of it, and I don't get bored reading comics. I don't tend to get bored. I'll either enjoy something or I won't, but I'm not bored even if I'm not enjoying something. But I was bored for most of this.
I actually would have liked. Sorry, I actually would have liked. We mentioned about his memory. I would have liked that trickled in a little bit more through the story, maybe little fragments of memory coming back and little things he's remembering of those times. Because obviously this is a big story about his past, the whole arc with his lover and the brother and, you know, the connections to his earlier days in the FBI. Why that could have trickled something in.
Rainey should have been the one that set off the explosion back then.
Mm.
You know, it should have like do more with her. Don't just have her that they fridged her, didn't they? Like she was just brought into it to be the next step for him to go after Wilder. Like she was there, she gave him the reason to go after him, and he was just gonna go get her money. But once she died, that's it, one step further.
Did you say fridged?
Yes.
Why fridged?
Oh, in comic books, it's a term where a woman is killed to advance a male storyline.
Yeah, but why the word fridged? I don't understand why.
Because Kyle Reiner, the Green Lantern in DC Comics, his girlfriend was killed and stuffed into a fridge to advance his character.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
that's like new now.
Yeah, there we go.
It's called fridge.
Yeah. Nerdhood Comic Club. Also,
sorry, I say these things like everyone should know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I feel like she was just killed to advance his story. Like she didn't need to be killed. She could have been beaten or put in hospital.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, sorry, Connie's here. Hey, Connie, how are you doing?
It's hard, isn't it, to elaborate now on it when it's hard not to pick holes in it. And it's the story, and I love Ed Brubaker's story writing, but
me too, but not here.
It just seemed as if that middle section just wasn't the same quality as the beginning and the end.
I mean, and we haven't even touched on his friend Anna at the cinema with the pink hair. His friend, like, why is she there?
She was right. She was quite cool.
She was, but why was she there? Why does he have a Girl Friday with him? Why does he have someone that answers his phone? He can't read his own messages.
I know in a later, I only know from like reading the synopsis further on, she does play a role in further books. I think she's actually got her own story in one of the further volumes, because the further volumes are not sequels. They're like another episodes, maybe a prequel or just something else in the Reckless story to build that world. It isn't sort of like read 1, 2, 3, 4 from what I've read. So
okay. Well, I thought she'd have a bigger part. I mean, she's on the cover. But she's like Rainey isn't even on the cover.
She is.
Where?
She is.
Oh,
at the bottom.
Oh, of course she is. Yeah, I can't see her from this. Yeah, I thought you were pointing to the explosion. I was going to say that's mean, Scott.
She's right there. She's the charred remains next to the car. Yeah, there she is. Right. I'm terribly sorry. I have no idea what else to say about
this story. Like, it's not a long story, is it? Like the plot is not in depth. It's not massive. It's guy has a job. Guy helps girl dies, so guy gets revenge. It's very basic. It's a very basic story, and it works in an 80s action movie, and it like Martin said, it will work for an hour-long TV show, but does it work for 100+ page comic?
I'm gonna have to go back and reread this again.
You have.
I'm gonna have to reread it again after this discussion, because it's just you're giving me a different opinion. But so it's all valid. All the comments have been made are valid. I'm not. You've brought me down, really, but for good reason.
There we go. Yeah, that's what we like to do on the Nerd Herd. Bring people down. Can I ask you a question then? So, Martin, you're a fan of Ed Brubaker.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go into this biased? Did you go, I like Ed Brubaker, therefore I will like this? I must like this because I like Ed Brubaker.
Partially. Because I enjoy what we read in Kill or Be Killed. I think I've started up here.
Yeah.
I enjoyed what we read in Friday, because he wrote Friday. I enjoyed that. That left me wanting to go to the next part. I was expecting that same area from this.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I did enjoy it, and I think I did probably go in a little bit biased. And I, at the end of it, I know it's meant to be read in one sitting, but I never got to the end of that one sitting and thought, oh, I was bored. I actually thought, oh, I want to read the next volume. But now we've sat and had a proper discussion with it, with people that have read it as well. It's makes you look at things differently. I think the biggest thing for this book is the artwork and the colouring.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to look at.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely say that. We all agree on that. It's just we all have different opinions on the writing. Like, my favorite writers are Tom Taylor, Kieran Gillen. Right, I love those writers; they're awesome. So I feel like I would be biased. I'd be like, I love these writers; they've done cool stuff in the past. So like, I'm gonna go into this all doe-eyed and like, ooh, yay! Like, these are my favorite writers. I'm gonna love this, and so yeah, I'm automatically setting myself up to love those books no matter what. And I feel like the disappointment of not enjoying that book will hurt me more, because it's a writer that I enjoy. So we all spend money on these books, and I always think there is some sort of emotion based inside the payment for this book. You buy a trade, that's a tenner. You buy a deluxe, that's 30 quid. You buy an omnibus, that's 50 quid. And you're going to go, I've paid this money, therefore I must enjoy this. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what happens. And I'm like,
I'm lucky. I've never followed writers or artists. I follow characters and stories.
I swear you've given me that advice. Don't follow the character, follow the writer.
Yeah, no. You've said that to me before.
Oh, so I bet you can't wait to read Tom King's Wonder Woman.
I'm not reading it.
Exactly.
I'm not reading it. I'm collecting it. I'm not reading it. Oh. I'm buying it. I won't read it. I buy the character. But no, okay. I've never followed a writer or an artist. Obviously, I buy variants if it's if it's fantastic. I don't just buy it because it's that artist. I haven't got everything from the Dodsons. I only buy the Dodson covers of characters that I like. But like writing wise, I like to read a synopsis for a book, and if that sounds interesting, then I'll pick it up. No matter who wrote it, no matter who draws it, I won't follow a writer because of that same thing, because I don't want to lose respect for a writer that I really liked who wrote a Wonder Woman book. If Greg Rucka writes something that I really, really hate, is that then going to tarnish my thoughts of him writing Wonder Woman? And I don't want that. So I'll just follow what I like and what sounds good. But with this, because I'd never heard of this, I didn't even read the synopsis for this first. All I saw was Reckless, Ed Brubaker, and Sean Phillips. So my brain instantly went to, well, you liked Kill or Be Killed, so I'm sure you're going to like this. And then I opened it and I was like, yes, I'm going to like this. The first page, I was like, this is good.
I'm in.
This is good. That guy's creepy. Wilder walking around like, oh, there's a phone number that you call.
Yeah.
There's a guy on the line that'll sort your problems out. And he's like, someone's going to be killed. And he's like, yes, they are. And I'm like, oh, I want to read on. Don't go backwards. Stay in this time. Stay right where you are and continue this part. And so I think that just broke me a little bit. It started me off on like a 10 instantly, my brain, because that's exactly what I want in a book. I want that blood, I want that violence, I want that action. And then you just took all that away from me and made me wait for it. And I don't like waiting for things. I'm a grown child. I'm a baby man. I don't want to wait for
big old baby man.
And it sucks because I'm sure there are people that don't think like me, that don't need that action and that blood and that gore and that excitement throughout an entire book, and they're willing to wait for it. But I'm not that, especially not when you tease it at the beginning. Had this just started with take those 4 pages out, and had I read it in gear 1 and then worked up to gear 10, then maybe I would have liked it a lot more. But the fact that it started me off so high, then brought me down and then made me build back to it, I think that is a detriment to this book.
Right. set itself up for disappointment.
For me, only for me
Okay.
personally, because that's how
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, like so I totally understand you like, the gore and the action and all that, and that's cool and that's fine. There's not that's not my jam. You know what I'm like. I'm a thinker. I like to delve deep. I like to overanalyze. I like to really have a think. And this being a crime based book, and there's going to be some element of investigations and solving something and getting around to it. Yeah, I thought, great, cool, I'm gonna get my brain's teeth into this, and we're gonna have a good old think, and we're gonna try and figure out what happened. But again, it just wasn't there. It just and I'm so gutted. I am. Like, this. I'm not gutted because this was my pick. I picked it because I've heard great things, and I've never heard anyone talk badly about this. But then here we are. And I'm like, what? How? We surely can't be the only people.
I'm the same as you because I've picked this a couple of times for Herd's Choice in the past.
Yeah.
So I've really wanted to read this, and I've held off, hoping that we might read this at some point, which is why I've not touched any of my books. I thought we're going to go into this, and I'm looking forward to be picked up and get stuck into it from there. I still am going to do that because I've got them, and I'm going to read them all. But after sitting talking about it, you can't help but acknowledge what is there, and there are some shortcomings. So I have to take it on the chin, unfortunately.
I really thought I was going to be the only one tonight. I thought it was going to be, oh yeah, Shane don't like that book again. Oh, Shane's just
classic Shane. What's he like?
Doesn't like the popular books.
So hipster. Yeah. Okay. All right. Shall we go into thoughts and scores?
Yeah.
Yeah. Feeling like it's time. I feel like it's naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there. Okay, let's go for it. Right, everyone in the chat, if you've read along, a few of you have, then give us your score. We'll add it together. We'll add it on to our score, and we'll see where it comes on the leaderboard. We'll hit the top 10. We need, for it to hit the top 10, we now need it to be a minimum of 7.8.
Cool.
To hit the top 10.
That's a good top 10.
So far, so good. Okay, so Shane, take it away, please.
Okay, so I like the premise of this book. The idea of a guy on the other end of a phone, you're in trouble, you call this number, and if he can be bothered, he'll help you. I think that's a great premise. I like the characters for the most part. They're written okay. They're nothing special. They're not great, but they're written okay enough for a first volume. The art is great. The colors are fantastic. It's the story that lets it down for me. It's a very blah, basic, paint by numbers story. Guy meets girl dies, guy gets revenge. It's just a very 1, 2, 3 book. And I feel really bad, but I have to be honest, I didn't enjoy reading this book. I don't. If I have to read volume 2 for the Herd, it might be even better. It might, if it's this version that he is by the end, then I might enjoy that. But I'm giving the points that I'm giving it for the start of this book, the premise, and the overall world. But everything else is a negative for me. So I'm giving this a 4.
Oh my god! Like, I did not expect a 4. Jesus, holy moly!
Like I said, I feel bad because it's Ed
Don't feel
Brubaker
bad,
and Sean Phillips, but I just didn't enjoy reading this book as much as I thought I would.
I think I felt that as well.
Yeah, I felt a bit winded. Jeez,
Yeah.
I'm really glad Phil's not here. No, it's fine, mate. This is a safe space. Everyone who's involved, their scores are their scores, and that's fine. This is the beauty of comics, because there is a comic for everyone. Therefore, there is a comic that is not for everyone, and that's it. So, James, I will have none of this. Saying shame on you, Shane. None of that. We will have none of that in this safe space place, please.
I said I was sorry before I scored it. I'm allowed to.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Martin.
Right. Okay. I started up really high on this because I love 80s crime sort of stories. I think that's my wheelhouse. I think that's really cool. Obviously, I'm a fan of Ed Brubaker, so I like Sean Phillips as well. The artwork in this is great. The coloring is on a whole new level. We've said that many times before. Yes, the story did start off great. I completely agree with the guys. It did drop in the middle, but I did like it. I like this story. I'm going to go on to the next volume. I want to read more. I did like the twist. I didn't see the twist coming, so that made me enjoy it. I don't look into this as deeply as some people. I enjoyed it for what it is. I loved it. I'm not going to score it as high as what originally was, though, because after this discussion, I can't help it. I have been brought down because I need it. I know. It's good. It's all good because you need grounding, So I'm going to have to go in and give it a 7.5.
7.5. And what was it originally?
I was going to go around a 9 because I enjoyed it that much. But I think talking about it definitely brought me down by a point. And I think when we've really fleshed it out, I think that's really sort of knocked me maybe half a point. But then that gives me a bit more room to grow for future volumes if it gets better. So I think a 7.5 is a fair score.
Okay. Right. We've got some more time for people in the comments. Okay. Yeah, the concept was good. Sounded great. Unfortunately, it was the hype of this series as a whole and the expectation of the creative team that kind of started me off up here. And then I'm glad that Shane has got similar opinions to me because, I thought I was going to be on my own. Like before we came live today, I was like, boys, you need to help me out today because I'm going to bring this down. But I feel like we've been, we've kept each other slightly level. Sorry, Martin. But yeah, story was lackluster, and I apologize for thinking that because this is such a highly revered series, and people just love the creative team. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a man that gets blindsided by love and makes mistakes. And I just, I'm so conflicted. It's like, he's only human, but I'm like, why would you write that? Really annoying, and I don't know where to sit. Like, I'm like, literally, could I just sit on the fence? Could I just go for a 5 or a 10? But I keep thinking of 6, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what I gave Thanos Wins, or a 6.5, and I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed this. So I'm gonna have to go for a 5.5. That's what I'm going for.
Hurt me, boys. Hurt me.
Hey, this is your first hurt, okay? There will be many more, but there will also be times where we shoot you up into the sky and you love what we're saying and we're singing praises of the book you love. Unfortunately, that's just not...
This ain't the
how
one.
it is. No, sorry. Okay, so we've got a few scores in the chat. Oh, I should say Phil's. Forgot about Phil's. Who?
Come on, Phil, bring it back up.
So, Philip's score, right. He's written his score straight away, but I'll leave it at the end. So, this is the second time I've read this, and I think I enjoyed it more this time. Brubaker does a brilliant job of making this feel real. I love the setting, the drama, and the characterization of Ethan Reckless. Again, the artwork is great, and this is the #1 team, in my opinion, for making comics of this genre. They are superb together and unmatched. I love the introduction to the Reckless books, makes you excited to read the rest. I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I miss you, Phil.
You needed Phil for this.
I needed Phil.
You did. We also had a score from Kevin. He did read along, but sent his apologies that he couldn't join in. He has just said, this is an 8 from me. It's just another solid story from one of the best teams in comics. There we go. So everyone in the chat then. We got James, 7 from me. Enjoyed it. Great art, but nothing groundbreaking. Fantastic. Okay. And then we've got Chris, off my shelf. He goes, you all have way too high expectations of a book that is essentially the pair doing a fun take on 80s detective melodrama. If you go into it expecting a magnum opus like Kill or Be Killed, you'd be disappointed. It's a short, sharp, fun action comic, intentionally not too complex or convoluted like a violent 80s American detective show. 4 is ridiculous. 10 to offshoot the craziness. All right.
So he didn't score it for real. He just wants to offset my score, which is fine. You can play like Phil in the. You can score like Phil.
and then we got Lee. I was expecting this to be at least a 9 based on the hype, but this book did not justify that at all. Hopefully, it gets better from volume 2. 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a really high-scoring book as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It was till we started talking about it for me.
Okay, all right. So, based on everyone in the chat and Kev's score, that gives an average of 7.9. So, based on the audience score alone, it gets to the leaderboard, gets to the top 10. But adding that to Phil's 8.5, Shane's 4, my 5.5, and my 7.5, which, to be fair, before I go on any further, this scoring between the 4 of us is mental, is everywhere. Isn't it? So adding that, all of those scores to the audience score, we get a total score of 6.7.
Oh. I think this is the first time we've all scored so far away from each other. Usually 2 of us at least are pretty close.
Yeah. So let's see the top 10 leaderboard, because you guys need to see that anyway. There it is. Thanos Wins, which we read last week, came in at 5th place at number 8. So that pushed off, Batman TMNT. And now Self-Storage is the last of the top 10 leaderboard with 7.8. And there's the rest of the leaderboard for everyone else to see if you haven't been here in a while.
So where does this go? Joint 13?
So, 6.7 goes joint 13th with The Boys Volume 1.
Oh, behave. I'm distraught. I want to cry myself to sleep tonight.
All right. Let's wrap this up then. I'm sorry.
Phil's at home smashing his laptop now.
I miss you, Phil.
So, this is what we've got coming up on the Nerdhood channel tomorrow. Kevin has done another fantastic how to draw. Instead of it being a particular character, instead, this time he has gone how to draw crime noir comics. Look at that. Goes for a
fedora.
I know, got his little fedora on. He goes for a little femme fatale kind of drawing, and she looks absolutely awesome right there. And if you want to follow along and see how to draw a character like that, then watch tomorrow night, Thursday, at 7 o'clock. That's when the video drops. But then you can get to it anytime you like. Just search for Kev's Draw Along, and you can draw along. Okay, with that done, we should be telling you what we've got coming up next week. It's Shane's pick. I'll tell you now, he's been looking forward to it for a very long time, and hopefully you'll understand why. Here we go. Shane, tell us.
We are reading, in my opinion, what is the best DC event of all time, Blackest Night from 2009, issues 0 to 8.
9 issues?
Issue 0 is only like 4 or 5 pages. It's fine. It's like a free
8.5 issues.
But it's worth it.
Cool. I can't wait. That's going to be brilliant. Liam has already said he is excited for the Blackest Night. Awesome. But I can't wait either. Purely because the Flash is in it and I haven't read a Flash book in a while. So, without further ado, that's it from us. All we got to do now, get your waves up.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.